Good morning from Vietnam. Good afternoon to you, Mayor Kim Lund. Thanks a lot for spending your time out of your busy schedule to join our program and share your amazing journey to our audience. And we want to say thank you to you.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here, and I'm looking forward to our conversation today.
Absolutely. And since you've been to our country and you only been to the north of the country, okay, so we have still the south and the center for you to join, to come and visit. So if you decided to travel to Vietnam again, and I hope that you have a new friend, new family here, you let us know. We would love to see you in person.
I would love that. I traveled with my husband and my two children. They were 9 and 13 years old at the time. And we have nothing but the fondest memories of our time in Vietnam. All of us would look forward to coming back.
Oh, it's 10 years already, so like 19 and 23 by now.
Yes, yes, time flies.
Yeah, and Vietnam now is totally different than 10 years ago with all the development that we're having over the past 10 years. Amazing. And you've been explored to our culture here, so it's very honor for our audience to have you to share a little bit about who you are and the work you do. So Major Kim, please do that for us.
Yes. Well, I am currently serving my community and this place that I love in Bellingham, Washington, as the mayor. But even just several years ago, I wouldn't have imagined myself seeking public office and serving my community as a public servant. So I have not had a traditional path to this position and this role, and I think in large part what has brought me here is that I have a deep love of this place. I was lucky enough to have been born here and raise my family here, and it's a desire to want to give back to this place. But as a child growing up here, we were a much smaller community. So we're talking about the growth and change in Vietnam. That is also true of this community in Washington State. There was about 1/3 as many people when I was growing up as a child as who live here today. And I was the first in my family to go on to higher education. So my dad was a truck driver and my mom stayed home. She had that traditional 1970s, 1980s. I had a very middle class, traditional, I think, American blue collar upbringing. And I am in large part went on to the next chapter and imagined a different future than what I had grown up with because of the teachers in school that had invested in me. And as a student, I was good at math and I was curious about science and the natural world. And so the teachers who invested in me helped connect me to a future at the University of Washington. I received a scholarship to go there, and I went on to study engineering. And when I first heard someone say to me, "Well, you're very good at math, you should think about being an engineer," I didn't even know what engineers did because I didn't know any engineers. And so I had only heard the word about an engineer is also what we call the person that drives the train. And so I thought, well, I don't think I want to drive trains for a living. And then I understood about the discipline of engineering and really how that is a systems approach to solving problems. And I enjoyed that experience learning about engineering, and I took that with me into a career at Intel Corporation. So I was a process engineer in the clean rooms making the Pentium processors, and it was an excellent foundation for learning what at that time Intel was a Fortune 20 company. So it was the peak of the early, kind of that tech bubble. and all of that nascent technology and explosive growth around personal computing. And it was a great time to be part of a company that had such a solid foundation and framework for culture and leadership. And I learned a lot of important lessons there that I carry with me and have served me well. And, from there, I went on to work in other tech industries. I took some time off to be a mother and dedicated to my children. And then I had a chance to go back and give back to the public school district. So I went back into the nonprofit world and became an executive director for a not-for-profit corporation that supports our local school district and our students and our educators here in Bellingham. And that was an important opportunity for me because I had the hubris of thinking that I knew Bellingham because I grew up here and my children were growing up here. But that time at the Schools Foundation, I had the chance to really better know how many different experiences there are in our households across this community and what the full spectrum of both opportunity and need are in a very different way. And I think that it was very heart expanding work to really know this community better. And I think that has also been really important and in service to me as I do this work as mayor of the city of Bellingham. So that's a little bit about me.
Very beautiful, Mayor Kim. I used to be a person in charge for a company called Adecco. So Adecco is a Swiss-based human resource solution company, and so we build that business in Vietnam from scratch, right? And our slogan back then was "Love what you do," and I can see that you are loving what you do. So your smile, the way that you talk, the word that you use when you describe about the works is beautiful. Okay, and that's one thing that you mentioned here is that you never dream of one day you're gonna become a public servant and doing this kind of works, right? So allow us to travel time together. Is that okay to you?
Yes.
All right. So I will bring you all the way back, bring us all the way back in when we were really, really young. So when I was a little boy, I grew up in a very poor community in the central of Vietnam. So Da Nang city, so is a very, very, very in the middle of the country. So one night we have electricity. Maybe the next couple of nights we didn't have electricity. So the only dream that I had, when I grow up in the future, I'm gonna be an astronaut, so I will be able to go to the moon. I will be able to enjoy the beautiful and bright up there, right? Life didn't give me any opportunity like that, except I've been interviewing a lot of astronauts, a lot of scientists at NASA, even the head of science at NASA. So, Mayor Kim, for you when you were little, what was your dream about the first career or the first work or the values that you're going to offer to the world?
Yes, that's an excellent question. And I think my dream as a little girl was to become a marine mammal veterinarian. And I was very, it's funny because what I didn't know at the time is the story of how the orca whales arrived at the SeaWorld, amusement park in San Diego. They actually came from our waters here in the Salish Sea, and they were captured and they were sold to the sea life parks. I didn't know that trauma and that history and that what we had done. I only knew as a little girl who got to travel to California one year and see these amazing animals in this amusement park that I wanted to take care of them. And so I wanted to be their doctor and become that marine mammal veterinarian. And then my dad said, well, there's only one or two of those people who get to do that job. It might be better to think about a job that more than two people get to do. And so maybe you could think bigger. But my parents were always very supportive of trying to help me. And they held a vision that I would be that first person in my family to go on to college, to go on to continue education. And so they were very supportive of me dreaming big and trying to connect me to those big dreams.
Wow. That's the power of environment right there, nurture, right? So
Yes.
I hope that every parent will do that kind of job to groom their children in that kind of environment, so that it gives them the seed of confidence to explore life and in multiple dimensions, right? So it's wonderful to hear it from your story to sharing here. With that, when I'm going to look at your story and what you just described in here, uh, it moved into, like no order at all. So, and everything that you did is always ended up with, good things. All right. Okay. So share with us the fundamental way of thinking, or the fundamental leadership style that you have when you start everything in your career, Major Lum?
Well, I think part of how I've had such a different career and done so many different things is I've always had a high openness to saying yes to things. And I think I bring that into my leadership and encourage that in my teams. So often part of our work as leaders in whatever work that we're doing, it's about managing a process of change. And so part of that is always about leading with the why and being grounded and rooted in why are we doing this work? How do we connect it to purpose and meaning for the people that are doing it? How are we having really open communication with each other about the work that we're doing, the changes that we're making, and encouraging that openness to change as part of how we are. I think so much of the work I've done is growing organizations, being part of rapid growth cycles, and it is that change management, and it requires that openness and being nimble, and also working with the teams to acknowledge when that is too much. Sometimes, we want to move very fast. In government, things move slow, and they move slowly intentionally. So I feel like sometimes I can be a little bit of a disruptor where I'm pushing on the teams, but government by design is meant to be stable. And so it's important that we are thoughtful in our actions. I encourage my teams not to be too fearful of failure. I think that's a very important attribute as a leader as well. It's okay to make mistakes. That is human to make mistakes. We don't want to make stupid mistakes if we can, right? But it's inevitable that we're going to error in our work and our products that we create. And what's really important is, how do we learn from that? How do we move forward from that? What's the pivot that we're going to make based on what we know now with that learning? So I think those are some of my leadership values that I bring to this work.
Wow, beautiful. Since when you start to have the idea of running the office?
Well, part of leadership and part of, I think, especially in being the mayor of a city, is being able to be a courageous leader. It takes a lot of courage to do this work, and that is, in essence, why I ran for office. We had an individual who was a very experienced policymaker, and saw that they were struggling a little bit in the executive role. If the legislative branch is very different than the executive branch. And so those two things aren't always the same. And I wanted to step forward and be that courageous leader, because I think we are owed excellent government. No matter where we live across the world, we are experiencing a conversation on a global level that is challenging the role of government. And, here in America right now, we have groups that kind of want to blow things up a little bit. And that is in response because we haven't had excellent government. And that's what the people are owed. And especially at the local level, that local level is really what shapes our decisions that we make. It's such a privilege to do this work, because we are making decisions that impact the people that live here today, and that the people who will come in many years from now and live here. And we owe it to the community now and to the members in the future. We can't yet even imagine who will live here, to do excellent work. And so that was the case I made to this community. I will be that courageous leader and set that vision, and do my very best on behalf of this community and make those courageous decisions.
Beautiful. I want to bring you to that courageous decision that you made on that day. It could be the morning, could be the afternoon, could be the evening, that Kim Lund say, okay, I am going to run for the mayor. Okay, from a director of public school until, like running the city, the mayor, and to the mayor role is a huge jump in between, right? And so tell us what came into your mind back then. What challenge, what vision, what happened into your mind, your thinking back then at that moment for you to come up with that courageous decision and brave enough to say, okay, I'm going to do that?
I think it was, I was, as soon as I made the decision, it felt peaceful to be on the other side. It was this balance of should I, shouldn't I? And as soon as I made the commitment to say, yes, I'm going to put my hat into the ring to do this work on behalf of my community, it felt so good. And it was energizing. And, I was just fully committed and gave it my all. And I have no regrets. And I think even in arriving at the decision, it was, what do I have to lose? Even if I fail, even if I'm not successful in seeking this office, if I lose the election, I will know this community better. I will have learned more things. All of it will be in service of who I am as a person, and how I can support this community. So I didn't see that there was a downside, really.
So now I'm going to bring you to the nurture part, and the environment part. Because when you were little, when you wanted to become a marine, was that more vegetarian, right? And then your father was saying only one or two person can do that. So it's a little disencouragement right there. But when you moved to the decision to run for the mayor role, right? So how the people around you saying about, hey Kim, do it or stuff?
Yes. Well, that's a huge part of it. Being a candidate for public office is a team sport. So I had many people around me that were encouraging me. There's a lot of time that you spend in the community, and it's a sacrifice for my family. So my family was so important on taking care of me, making sure I was fed, and they were giving me hugs and encouragement when I needed that boost, and cheering me on if ever my confidence wavered. they had my back. And that's true of friends and other people in this community who really invested in me for this outcome. So absolutely, it's a team sport, and I'm incredibly grateful to everyone who played a part.
We only have 5 minutes left, so I will ask you two last questions for this conversation. Okay. And Mayor Kim, my wife and I, we've been on the quest to help people to improve their abilities to think, because we believe that there's a lot of things that impact our thinking these days. And if we can, so each conversation like this is a chance for us to ask our experts to share their way of thinking, and hope that people can pick something that they can learn and apply in their life. So the question for you is, how have you been growing your ability to think so beautifully like this?
That's a good question. I think I think it's an ongoing challenge. It's presents itself in different ways in the different roles that I've done, but it's always, if we think about the quadrants of important and non-important, urgent and non-urgent, and ideally we would be spending our times only on the important things. But so often we are confronted with something that is appearing as urgent, but it's not that critical, deep, important work. And so it's always a balance of that tension, and it's always coming back to that. How can I reset, and how do I kind of triage my work so that I am tending and care to that non-urgent and important work? And of course, urgent, important always gets prioritized. But when something isn't a phone call or an email in the inbox or something else that's presenting, maybe it's a conversation from a member of the community who grabs me in the grocery store and wants to share their feelings about some direction or decision the city has made. It's important to listen. Everyone wants to be seen and heard, and we endeavor to honor that at all times. But also, how do we do the most good for the most people? And that is always going back to, am I being intentional about doing what's most important? And it's a constant rebalancing and management of that. So, and part of that is participating in conversations like this. It's listening to the TED Talks. It's being on that continuous learning journey to understand, how are other people doing this work too, right? I love listening to podcasts. It's how I end every day is listening to podcasts, both from strategic thinkers in the world, people that help me make sense of the news, but also just other change makers and people doing good things all around the world. I think we're living in such a lucky time where we have this share of information and strategies for so many people to do good.
Beautiful. Last question, and the last time we travel in this conversation, I'm going to bring you all the way to when you were little again. Okay, with that dream that one day you're going to become a doctor of the marine mammals, right? And you are going to tell that little young Kim about the work that she is going to do in the future. Mm-hmm. Okay, the exciting and then the adventure. So what is that you are going to tell and advise to that little Kim about work?
I would tell that little Kim to be unbounded in their thinking about what is possible. So to dream big, to be unbounded in their thinking. But a lesson that I have learned over time, and I keep learning it, but I'm getting better at heeding the lesson, and that is also to ask for help. We all have times in our lives where we need to rely on others, whether it's our team, our family, our friends, and that it is strength to ask for help. It is not weakness. And so I would give that advice to little Kim.
Beautiful, beautiful. So, Major Kim Lund, thanks a lot for spend your time with us and with a lot of wisdom in this conversation. We've been coming to Bellingham in January next year, so I hope that we can meet in person for a cup of coffee together, and that would be wonderful. Okay.
It would be wonderful. Let's make that happen. Yes.
Alrighty. Thank you very much. You have a wonderful afternoon, and tell the team that I really appreciate that they're helping to set it up. I really appreciate that, and I wish you and your family and everybody there a wonderful summer. Enjoy in the summer.
Thank you. Same to you. Thanks for your time.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Bye bye.
Bye bye.